Breaking news. At 3:47 a.m., a true storm of Ukrainian missiles completely wiped out a Russian brigade, leaving everyone wondering if it was a masterstroke that could tip the balance of the conflict, or a reckless escalation that risks a much larger confrontation. Subscribe if you believe this lightning maneuver by Ukraine marked the beginning of the end of the invasion, and leave a comment if you think this bold attack could unleash a wider war. This brigade liberated Kharkiv with more than 50 T-72 and Oplot tanks, showcasing its strength. Now it faces an enemy more prepared and determined. What happens in the next phases of this multi-stage campaign remains uncertain. Each stage will reveal whether Ukraine can change the course. Let's uncover the secrets of this operation. Ukraine's counteroffensive began with a thunderous push led by the 3rd Armored Brigade, nicknamed the Iron Fist. This elite unit, backed by reconnaissance drones and MiG-29 fighters, launched a swift armored assault to pierce Russian defenses in the Kharkiv region. The objective was clear: break enemy lines, disrupt command, and pave the way for a broader campaign aimed at reclaiming occupied territory. The Iron Fist Brigade, with its reputation for speed and firepower, was the perfect choice to spearhead this initial movement. Its experience in previous battles, such as the defense of Kharkiv in 2024, provided tactical advantage and knowledge of the terrain. The assault began with T-72 tanks emerging from concealed positions. These steel beasts attacked Russian bunkers and sandbag walls, their main cannons reducing fortifications to rubble. Mounted machine guns tore through trenches, silencing all opposition. This was no improvised attack. It was meticulously planned to carve a gap in Russian lines and allow Ukrainian forces to penetrate deeper into enemy territory. Speed was vital. Every minute in the open increased the risk of artillery fire. Combat engineers advanced alongside tanks, clearing minefields and obstacles. Over the chaos of battle, reconnaissance drones buzzed like watchful hawks, transmitting real-time images to Ukrainian commanders. With this instant intelligence, officers adjusted artillery strikes and guided tanks toward the weak points of Russian defenses. This blend of old-school armor and modern technology marked a leap in Ukrainian combat capability. Unlike past battles where ground scouts were vital, drones now reduced risks and improved precision. MiG-29 fighters also joined the action, dropping smart bombs with deadly effectiveness. As Russian forces prepared for a counterattack near the village of Berlotsk, drone operators identified a cluster of key targets, a command post and ammunition depots. The fighters swooped down from the sky, dropping their bombs within minutes. 6 critical targets were obliterated in the blink of an eye. A regimental headquarters was pulverized, severing the Russian chain of command. A drone control center was destroyed, crippling their aerial surveillance. 3 bunkers, likely housing troops and equipment, erupted in flames. Finally, an ammunition depot exploded, hurling fireballs into the sky and shaking the ground. Each strike had a strategic purpose. Without command, Russian units were disoriented. Without the drone hub, they lost their eyes in the battlefield. With the bunkers destroyed, no immediate reinforcements could arrive, and the loss of ammunition weakened their firepower. This was not just about destroying infrastructure. It was about breaking the enemy's ability to respond. The effects were immediate. Russian resistance around Berlotsk collapsed. Soldiers cut off from supply lines could not hold their positions. The Iron Fist advanced with little opposition. Success did not come without challenges. Russian defenses were riddled with mines and anti-tank traps. Yet Ukrainian preparation shined. Drones spotted threats in advance, allowing engineers to quickly clear routes. When enemy anti-tank teams attempted ambushes, drone operators alerted the tank crews, who evaded or retaliated. This coordination reduced casualties and kept momentum alive. A Ukrainian military officer praised the operation. "Combining drones and air support with our tanks changes everything. We hit hard and fast, giving the enemy no time to recover." The impact extended beyond Berlotsk. By breaking the front and eliminating key targets, Ukraine threw Russian plans into chaos. Enemy commanders were forced to retreat, reassess strategies, and scatter their forces. This bought Ukraine time and space for what was coming next. The Iron Fist did not just win a battle, it laid the groundwork for the next stage of the campaign. Compared to earlier victories, like Kharkiv in 2024, this operation demonstrated the evolution of Ukraine's forces. Tanks and courage were no longer enough. Now, armored drones and fighters were fused into a single lethal force. This initial thrust was part of a broader plan to liberate occupied areas. By breaching the Kharkiv line, Ukraine aimed to choke Russian supply routes and encircle their units. The Iron Fist had achieved its goal, but the campaign was not over. The spotlight now shifted to drones, which would strike deeper into enemy territory. In the next section, we'll examine how Ukraine employed these flying machines to maintain pressure and turn early gains into lasting victories. After breaking through with armored might, Ukrainian commanders pivoted toward an unprecedented aerial strategy. Instead of risking infantry in minefields and ambushes, they unleashed a relentless drone-led assault. This second phase, driven by the 63rd Mechanized Brigade, marked a turning point. Known for its mechanized skill, this unit reinvented itself as a master of unmanned warfare. Its mission: annihilate Russian defenses, break their morale, and control the ground from the air. The brigade deployed two types of drones with devastating precision. First, FPV, first-person view, drones. Remotely piloted through live video, these agile craft zeroed in on bunkers and shelters. Hidden in command posts, operators guided each strike with surgical accuracy. Each drone carried compact explosives capable of leveling fortifications. Russian troops, huddled in trenches, found no refuge. These attacks not only shattered structures, but also spread panic among enemy ranks. Meanwhile, loitering munitions, kamikaze drones, expanded the reach. One of these machines located a warehouse filled with Russian SMR rockets. The explosion lit up the night, devastating a 200-meter radius and disrupting artillery lines for days. This was not wanton destruction, but a strategic blow that disrupted Russian logistics. Ukrainian records point to over 100 bunkers demolished in this phase alone. Coordinated FPV strikes overwhelmed Russian anti-drone defenses, whose jamming systems collapsed under the unrelenting bombardment. These unmanned warriors multiplied Ukraine's reach, inflicting massive impact without exposing soldiers. On the ground, Russian morale cracked. The constant buzzing of drones forced troops to abandon positions. Helmets, rifles, and radios lay scattered as they fled into the forest. Satellite imagery revealed smoking craters where command centers once stood. Intercepted communications described chaotic orders. Russian officers blaming ghosts in the sky, striking without warning. Fear itself became Ukraine's silent ally. This success was built on months of preparation. Civilians and engineers collaborated to produce affordable UAVs with commercial parts. Intensive training covered flying, terrain analysis, and attack coordination. The 63rd Brigade merged this innovation with tactical skill. Real-time intelligence from spotters, satellites, and thermal imaging guided each mission. Decoy drones lured Russian defenses, clearing the path for devastating blows. In urban combat, FPVs slipped through streets and windows, flushing out snipers and commanders. A viral video showed a drone sneaking into a house full of Russian troops and detonating at just the right moment. They had no time to react. In both open terrain and urban areas, these drones proved decisive. Still, challenges arose. Russia began tracing drone signals and shooting some down. Operators responded by shifting locations and strengthening encryption to evade countermeasures. Though losses occurred, the brigade's agility maintained the initiative. Every setback refined their tactics, ensuring the campaign never lost momentum. This phase wasn't just about destroying equipment. It rewrote the rules of engagement. By avoiding direct infantry clashes, Ukraine preserved lives while dismantling Russian strongholds. The 63rd Brigade's drone assault exposed enemy vulnerabilities and crushed morale. With supply chains strangled and defenses shattered, the stage was set for Ukraine's next move: Special Forces infiltration to seal the victory. These elite units, the Special Detachment Forces, took center stage after the drone bombardment. Their mission: advance meter by meter, reclaiming ground. With air support clearing the way, they used thermobaric grenades to collapse tunnels packed with weaponry and neutralize underground hideouts. Tunnels, ambush refuges, were destroyed with precision. By tossing a thermobaric grenade, the SDF unleashed heat and pressure that collapsed passages and eliminated hidden threats. A recent recording showed an SDF soldier dropping the explosive into a tunnel. Seconds later, the blast wiped out a weapons depot without Ukrainian casualties. This highlighted the effectiveness of thermobaric grenades. Unlike conventional bombs, they consume oxygen and unleash deadly force in confined spaces. By neutralizing underground routes, the SDF blocked counterattacks and kept casualties minimal. In just 3 days near Berlotsk, they destroyed 4 major tunnel systems. Each success further weakened Russian defenses, physically and psychologically. The SDF's advance was methodical. They checked buildings and trenches for traps or remnants of troops before handing secure ground to engineers and infantry following behind. This careful work paid off. Reclaimed ground was ready for consolidation and supply routes. Still, isolated Russian resistance lingered in the southern forests. Overcoming it would be the final step before Ukraine launched its next push. With Russian defenses wavering, the counteroffensive entered its third phase, combining firepower with rapid ground maneuvers. UAVs led the charge, striking Russian strongholds with ruthless precision. FPV drones swept across Kharkiv, destroying tanks, bunkers, and infantry clusters. Operators, watching live feeds, guided each strike with pinpoint accuracy. Long-endurance drones joined in, circling until high-value targets emerged. Within 2 hours, Ukrainian UAVs wrecked 120 enemy targets. 5 tanks reduced to scrap, 10 Russian soldiers neutralized in seconds. A strike per minute kept the enemy off balance. Infantry advanced only after drones confirmed each position was neutralized, avoiding ambushes and minimizing casualties. Real-time intelligence gave them a clear edge. When a machine gun nest opened fire, a drone flagged its location, and an FPV silenced it instantly. This coordination allowed soldiers to move safely even in fog or darkness, aided by drones with thermal cameras. Commanders used this data to direct mortars with deadly precision. In one video, an exhausted Russian convoy was halted by a chain of coordinated explosions from the air, cutting off any retreat. Russian attempts to jam drone signals failed. Ukrainian operators switched frequencies and deployed decoys to confuse defenses. When enemy troops hid in forests, thermal drones revealed their body heat, enabling surgical strikes. A camouflaged bunker filled with command staff was vaporized by a drone, scattering debris everywhere. The psychological damage was as potent as the material loss. Panic gripped Russian lines. This relentless bombardment shattered the enemy chain of command. Units once firm now fled, abandoning weapons. The sense of inevitability spread across the battlefield. Ukraine dominated the skies and dictated the tempo of battle. This offensive fused technology and speed. The 63rd Brigade, specialized in drones, trained to integrate UAVs into every phase of combat. Their success lay in strategy. Fast, frequent strikes kept Russia guessing. This approach saved lives and multiplied impact. Russia tried adapting with mobile units and improved anti-drone systems, shooting some down. Ukraine responded by relocating control stations and refining tactics to retain initiative. The coordination of drones and ground forces created a fluid, unstoppable force that ripped through successive Russian defenses in Kharkiv. By the end of this phase, Russia had lost not just territory, but initiative. The final phase will analyze how these victories could shape the war's future and Ukraine's course after these successes. The multi-stage Ukrainian counteroffensive demonstrates its military strength and ingenuity. By fusing armored power, air superiority, and cutting-edge drone technology, Ukraine has pushed Russian forces back and set a new standard in battlefield strategy. This Kharkiv campaign shows how a nation can adapt swiftly and challenge a formidable adversary. The seamless integration of traditional and modern tools has given Ukraine a decisive edge, proving that ingenuity can match brute force. From the start, the armored thrust shattered enemy lines with precision. Then air support disrupted Russian command and supply chains. After that, waves of drones dismantled fortifications and sowed chaos in defenses. Special forces secured the gains, wiping out hidden threats with devastating effectiveness. Each stage built upon the last, creating an unrelenting rhythm that kept Russia on the defensive. What makes this campaign unique is Ukraine's mastery of unmanned systems. Drones didn't just support infantry, they redefined the battlefield itself, delivering instant intelligence and striking with unmatched precision, allowing a smaller force to outmatch a larger foe. This counteroffensive goes beyond military victory. It is a message. Ukraine has shown the world that a determined nation armed with innovation and resolve can challenge even the strongest opponents. As the war continues, the question shifts to how Ukraine will consolidate these gains. Will it maintain its technological edge? Can it defend the captured ground against future Russian counterattacks? The answers will determine not just this conflict, but the future of modern warfare.